There's an interesting word problem, and it's not a lot of math involved. This is Monday, I'm aware. Let's say that I am standing in one location and there is a wall 100 yards or 100 meters away from me. And every time I move halfway to the wall. How many moves will it take me to get to the wall? Well, the answer is I will never reach the wall because going halfway each time, there's always another incremental measurement for the halfway. And you could go through eternity and never hit that wall. That's because the universe is laid out and designed mainly in an analog way. In other words, there are so many infinite points between 0 and 100. We, however, live in a primarily digital world where you are either 0 or 1. You are either connected or you're not connected. Years ago, we lived in West Virginia and cell phones came out and they were brilliant and wonderful, even though they were massive and had a big bag battery and the like. At least you could communicate. We're on your road. It was just amazing. And they were analog. And what that meant was you're in a state which has mountains, it has a sparse population, and you would sometimes hear the voices and sometimes you wouldn't when you're on the phone. And there'd be a lot of that dial-up modem noise. If those of you refugees from the early 80s, that you would hear some of that in there. But you could get enough words to know, all right, they're safe at home, or my wife needs milk, or whatever it is. You had at least a little connection. Well, then they improved the phones. And to be fair, the towers and phones were much better. When you heard the people, the voice was quite clear, but you didn't hear them very often. Because there was no middle ground, your call was either on or not on. And therefore, a lot of times, I was not able to use my cell phone anymore because they'd improved it and they made it digital. This world in which we live, this universe in which we live, consists of an infinite number of points between 0 and 100, or between any other two numbers or any other two places you want to go. If this is giving you a headache, we're about to remove the headache. So I hope that you can hang in there just a few minutes longer. Ecclesiastes, we've been going through Ecclesiastes at Fourth Avenue Church online, fair enough, the last couple of months. And we're about to finish it in a couple of weeks. But in Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 18, the Bible says the man who fears God will avoid extremes. I want to say that again. The man who fears God will avoid extremes. And extremes is what we are surrounded with. Extremes in politics, extremes in media, and now extremes in medicine and our reaction. We have people on one side, and by the way, all of these people are good people as far as I'm concerned. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm not even here to judge their ideas. But we have people with feelings and some facts, and they always say we have to isolate for years. We have to get the vaccination. I have to make sure they work, but on and on. And then you have other people who are already on the streets protesting, saying, we're ending it now. Let God sort it out. I'm going to suggest to you there's a lot of room between those two extremes. There are a lot of places we can go. The world will not be happy if you choose an in-between place. It will grab you, drag you, while accusing you of being awful until they can get you in their slot. It used to be that we could disagree with people. We would say, I really like Patrick, but he's got some weird ideas. We can't do that anymore. In politics, it has gotten to where if I disagree with you, it is because you are evil and your beliefs are out there to destroy my family, my culture, and my life. We're not allowed just to disagree and still walk with each other anymore. And that's sad. Well, so what should it be then? Look at all the evidence. I've seen all the models. Well, I've seen all the models I could find. How's that? I have virologist friends, epidemiologist friends, and I've looked at those and I've looked at everything I can find. So who's right? And here's the answer. It's according to which data you grab. It's the same with so many other things. The truth's somewhere in the middle, but we tend to listen to the people we listen to. If you listen to Fox News, that's who you listen to. If you listen to CNN, That's who you listen to. MSNBC, same thing. Or if you don't listen to any news at all because you just don't like the news, well, that puts you in another place as well. Sociologists have long been studying this, but particularly in the last 12 to 20 years. The people with a certain political bent eat certain food, go to certain restaurants, watch certain television shows. And the people over here, it's a whole different column. We have siloed ourselves, separating ourselves, not being aware that there might be room here for some interplay. There might be some room where we could actually join together on some things and not have to go from 0 to 100, not from this is wonderful, wonderful, and you're evil and you must die. How can we do this? Well, truth doesn't need you to shout. So first of all, if you are a shouty person or you are around shouty people, the truth might be in short supply there. Might be. It'd be a good thing to back up and think a little bit. Also, there might be a way that we can continue to work as much as we can and love each other as much as we can without going 0 to 100. There are nations such as Israel, Japan, South Korea, Sweden. There are quite a few of them. And they do a point system to decide who goes where. But they ask you to discipline yourself. And that's kind of a problem, right? Because we don't tend to discipline ourselves very much. We want other people to discipline themselves. But all right, let's pull back. You get a point in these systems for every one of the little markers you hit. Are you over 62, 63, or 65? They use different markers. Let's just say, are you in your 60s or up? That's a point. Are you obese? And by the way, I'm not defining that for you. You get to decide. That's a point. Do you have diabetes? That's a point. Any lung conditions like COPD, asthma, the like, that's a point. And you see how this works. You assign points. If you have an immunodeficiency issue or you're undergoing cancer treatment, which if you don't know the link between there, when you undergo cancer treatment, they actually have to lower your immune response to some things. So it makes you more vulnerable. That's a point. What if none of these other things apply to you, but you're taking care of mom and dad and they live in your house? That's a point, because you're bringing in things whenever you come back in from whatever it is you do. And you can be careful and wash your hands. Or like, don't run to defense yet. We're just piling up points. If you have 2 or more points, these nations say, self-isolate. Stay home. Don't get within 6 feet of someone else. Make sure you strict hygiene. Wear a mask if you're around somebody else to protect them from you. You're not really getting protected from the other guy. This is just a mutual protection device we're doing, so that if I have anything, you won't get it. It's a courtesy. In some nations, it's very, very normal. In our nation, it is not. Now, I will admit, when I walk into a shop and I'm looking around and 10 heads turn my way, because every new time that door opens, we consider that a threat now, don't we? And all those heads looking at me are people with masks on. And I'm thinking, are we being robbed or are we being kind? It's hard to know. But there is that room in the middle to say, instead of shutting all things down, maybe those that do not have any points, they can go and do some stuff. It's not all stuff. And it's all don't go. There's room in the middle here. There's always room in the middle if we look for it. Now, we as human beings sometimes play a game called Worst Case Scenario. And there's a set of books out like that now. I don't know if they're in print now, but they were out 10 or so years ago. What if the worst thing happens? I've heard that all my life in sermons that say, this is the end of the world. We're all going to die. The worst thing has ever happened. Oh no, the United Nations is here. Worst thing ever happened. Oh no, that person got elected. Worst thing that could ever happen. We go to worst case scenario. First of all, you never have to play worst case scenario, not unless you're in the military or unless you're a first responder and you have to learn how to deal with emergencies, crashing patients and the like. Most of us don't need to be playing worst case scenario. My wife didn't smile at me when I walked in the door. I guess our marriage is over. No, no, you don't need to go that far. Or my father-in-law and I have nothing in common, and he just brought that up, and I think he's trying to say he wants a family. No, we don't need to go to worst case scenario. Back when I ran a counseling clinic, one of the things I would do with the more logical, the more creative people, I would say, let's play worst case scenario. And we'd go there and say, now, how bad is it? Can you survive it? And in every single case, they found out they could. I said, so there's no reason to even play worst case scenario. You're going to be okay. And the odds are you're never going to be there. You're going to be way over here somewhere. You can go halfway, 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 never get there. So let's figure out what we can do over here without running to extremes. You may have even heard people say something like, love me, love my dog, which means if you love me, you've got to love everything about me. No, you don't. That's optional. You don't have to like everything about, much less love everything about somebody to love them. We don't have to go to 100 just because somebody says so. So when our churches began to roll out again, we were hoping that all of our churches in our community could roll out the same way at the same time, but we found out that's really going 0 to 100. And there are a lot of little analog churches in there that maybe they have 40 members and an auditorium that holds 200 people. They can go live. They just separate people out, maybe wearing masks, maybe check temperatures coming in. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out here. Whatever it is, they're able to roll out. If we look at them and say, if we had faith in God, seriously, you just went to 100 with that? You can have faith in God and have all kinds of responses today. I can have faith in God and eat cornflakes. It doesn't mean, faith in God does not mean that I have to do things your way. And it doesn't mean you have to do things my way. It doesn't mean I have to agree with you. And it doesn't mean you have to agree with me. But what faith in God does mean is that I have to treat you as a beloved, intentional creation of my Father, who is as beloved of my Father as I am. Therefore, I should treat you somewhere in the middle. Not with whatever they say, it goes. Remember the old bumper sticker way back in the day, my country, right or wrong? Let's be very careful. We don't need to go to 0 and we don't need to go to 100. There's a lot of room in between. So let me just leave you with this. Ecclesiastes says that the one who fears God does not go to extremes. And then Jesus walks on the scene and he tells us, fear not. Why? Fear drives you to extremes. One way or the other, fear will shut you down where you cannot hear data you don't agree with. Fear will blind your eyes. Fear not. But he didn't go 0 to 100. Watch and pray. Now, I'm not suggesting that you pray with your eyes open. I do. About the only time I close my eyes is when I know I'm being watched by children. Maybe I'm at church or I'm around my grandkids. Why do I pray with my eyes open? Because you can. And I like to know what's going around me. And so as I pray, I keep my eyes open. And sometimes with my eyes open, God even shows me an answer to the prayer when I ask him, what can I do for you today? Oh, look, there's that person. So fear not, but keep your eyes open. Keep your brain engaged. And what happens if you come against a person on television or in person that you just disagree with so much? Let's not go 0 to 100. You can scooch a little bit. But let's remember who you are, and let's remember who they are. Peace.